All right, welcome to the podcast. John Tesh with Gib Gerard. We've got some great stuff for you today. We're going to talk about the latest way to improve your health. It's called the 30-30 rule. I saw this recently. I started doing it, especially the part where you have protein first thing in the morning. We'll talk about that. It's also about how coffee affects. We know how coffee affects your morning, but what happens when you skip coffee?
Yeah, I would never.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm not experimenting on this one myself.
And also how you can close your eyes to eliminate brain fog in the morning. So those are coming up. But first, I have a couple of lightning rod pieces I wanted to share with you to give to see what your opinion was. Number one, 53 and folks, please let us know how you feel about these. It's john@tesh.com is the email address. 53% of teens say, I have no idea how to jumpstart the battery on my car.
So I've noticed a trend in teenagers lately because of the expense of owning a car. Because of the prevalence of Uber.
No, just I noticed a trend in teenagers.
Well, I mean, I have a preteen, and I have I've had neighbors who are teenagers, and I've seen it over the last decade or so.
Yes,
and because of Uber, because of the expense of owning a car. And the amount of independence that teens are getting even without having a car now, it's not the same rite of passage that it was when I was a kid, where it's like, I've got to get it. I've got to get a car. I've got to have that level of freedom. That like a lot of teens are just foregoing it. So that's one. The other thing is we walk around with the sum total of all human knowledge in our pockets everywhere we go.
Yes.
So if you sort of think, if I need to know how to change a tire, I don't need a course before I do it. I need to watch YouTube as I figure out how to change a tire or jumpstart a car. There is one downside to this, and if you're going to go up into the mountains, if you're going to go hiking or skiing, or you're going to go, camping somewhere, or you're even going to drive between cities, and you end up at a place with not a lot of cell phone coverage, you should at least review how to do this stuff before you get on the road.
According to the same poll, 25% of people admit to changing the direction of the toilet paper in somebody else's bathroom. Now, I don't know if I've ever noticed the direction of toilet paper.
You don't?
So have you ever?
Over.
It has to be over.
It has to be over. It's
Why?
The only way.
What's the point?
It flows better. The only way that it works right is over. Some people like under because they.
How much do you use? So it has to be like flying out of there.
It doesn't have to be flying out. I'm not a teenager making a prank in the boys' room. But I'm saying, like, I don't want it to be a thing that I have to fight the toilet paper rule. I just want my toilet paper.
Okay. So settle down.
So I would not change this in somebody else's house unless I was using the toilet paper. So, like, if I had to clean something up or I had to use the toilet paper, then I might switch it over while I'm using it because I need to use it over. And also, people who are under are just wrong. Right. Under toilet paper is wrong.
Okay, but it's but I can't believe I have this vision of somebody walking around with a clipboard saying, "Hey, do you ever change the direction of the toilet paper?"
That is weird. What would you say? You're walking out of the grocery store, like, "Hey, do you have a second to talk about toilet paper?"
Yeah. And those of you at the Pew Research Center or Gallup, whatever, if you're looking for somebody to do polls, we can do it for you because I know there's some money in this. So we'd be happy to go around with a clipboard.
Can you imagine?
You'd be great at it.
I might be fine, but I want to see somebody's. Because eventually somebody's going to get on TikTok and be like, hey, I just left the grocery store. And I those people that ask you questions. And in the middle of this guy asking me a question, I was like, oh my gosh, that's John Tesh. I used to watch Entertainment Tonight all the time.
This is what happened to you?
I love Round Ball Rock. Why are you asking me about toilet paper?
Well, and you know what happens to me now that I have 50 years outside of Entertainment Tonight or whatever is that I go into a Starbucks and people say, didn't you used to be John Tesh? And I finally just gave up and said, yeah.
I used to be.
Yeah,
now
let me buy your coffee.
Now I'm Bob Eubanks.
Okay, jeez. Okay, here's a quick trick to not only boost your energy, but make your hair look thicker.
Oh, I'll take it.
You put a couple of drops of peppermint oil in your shampoo. Now listen to this. Hair restoration surgeon Robert Doran says the peppermint tightens follicles. It makes your hair stand up more. It appears fuller. It also makes your scalp tingly, and that's the part that's energizing. Plus, the scent of peppermint activates the limbic system, which controls emotions, motivation, and behavior. So you get a mood boost and you feel more alert. I guess this is why they tell you to chew peppermint gum when you're driving a car, too, right?
Yes, yeah. All of those things are beneficial. I will point this out, though.
Go ahead.
When I was a teenager, we shared a bathroom, you and I. and we had all kinds of shampoos in our shower. And you had a tea tree peppermint shampoo.
Yes, you didn't put it on your genitals,
Well, here's
did you?
what happened.
I know where this is going.
I'm still this kind of guy, but I've grown out of this a little bit. But when I was a teenager, I was a one soap is good for everything kind of person.
Yeah, right, for your hair too, right?
Yes. So I grabbed, I think it was Paul Mitchell tea tree peppermint shampoo.
There it is, yeah.
I put it in my hair. I started washing my body, and it takes a second. All of a sudden, the tingle sets in, and my armpit, everywhere on my body,
I know, it doesn't go
starts like, it's so cold, it's burning. And the more I rinse it off, the more intense the peppermint experience becomes. I mean, it was like that scene in Revenge of the Nerds where they put the icy hot in the jock straps.
Yeah.
I had a hard day that day.
Do you know I had that done to me when I was in junior high school at Garden City?
The icy hot
because I was it was called atomic bomb. And it was hazing, basically, bullying. Yeah. And it's not a great experience.
No.
But I paid a guy, Bill Kazan, who was an upperclassman. I paid a guy to protect me. It was like my bodyguard or something. Yeah, it was lunch money 2 days a week, and he protected me. Anyway, we're digressing like crazy. Crazy. So in just go ahead.
Put the peppermint oil in your shampoo. It's good for your hair.
Yeah,
that's the bottom line.
There it is.
Forget all of our teenage trauma.
Yeah, forget our ADD. So in a moment, we're going to tell you how coffee can improve depression. But first, this piece we were talking about earlier, it's another way to improve your health. It's called the 30-30 rule. It involves eating 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes of waking up. I first heard this from Tim Ferriss. We'll talk about that in a minute. I've read all of his books. I love his stuff. It involves eating 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes of waking up, then doing 30 minutes of low-intensity exercise. Now, it's popular because it's easy to remember. It doesn't require you to make any other fitness or diet changes, and it's easy enough for almost everybody to do. It originally came from Tim Ferriss, as I mentioned. His book it's an older book. Guys, it must be 10, 15 years old, The 4-Hour Body.
I'm looking at, you have a copy on your shelf.
I do.
In your studio. I'm
it's
looking
really
at it right
great.
now.
So the 30-30-30 rule has gone viral. Combining a high-protein diet with exercise helps remove fat mass, blood glucose control, inflammation, all kinds of stuff, physical performance. And it's really, eating protein requires more energy to burn. You know that.
Yes. So there are some negative calorie foods. Like celery is a negative calorie food, meaning it takes your body more energy to break down celery than you actually get from it. And protein, it's not the same thing. You actually get energy from protein, so it is good for you, but it gives you that sustained, slower release of energy that will keep you fuller longer. So we talk a lot. We talk on the podcast, we talk about on the radio show, we talk about on the coaching calls about how to design your life for intuitive eating. And one of the things you got to do is make sure that you get your protein and your fiber. And then you can let your body tell you what it wants for the rest of the day. If you get that big amount of protein first thing, and it can be, we talk about steak and eggs being an old school unhealthy breakfast, but it's actually a great way to start your day if you don't have a cholesterol problem, because it gives you the fat and the protein that will give you sustained energy for the rest of the day. You won't have lunch until 4 p.m. if you have steak and eggs for breakfast. So that's a huge benefit to it. And then also getting active when your cortisol levels from waking up are at their highest will actually do a lot for keeping your heart rate up and keeping your energy higher for the rest of the day. So the 30-30-30 rule is fantastic for all of those things, and it aligns with so many of the stuff that we talk about on all of our outlets.
Again, the 30-30-30 rule, eat 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes of waking up and then do 30 minutes of low-intensity exercise. I finally built a ritual where before I have my coffee, I'm drinking 3 full glasses of water, understanding how dehydrated we get for the 7 hours or whatever it is that we sleep.
I don't think I can go 7 hours during my waking life without drinking water. I'm not an alcoholic. As far as I know. And so I can go 7 hours without alcohol, but I can't go 7 hours without water. And then you think that you're not going to wait. You don't feel as thirsty when you wake up, but you really do need to replenish that for all of your bodily functions to work.
Yeah. And now I'm going to up my coffee intake after the 3 glasses of water, because research from the Harvard School of Public Health found drinking 2 to 4 cups of caffeinated coffee will absolutely improve your mood. It can reduce the risk of depression by a full 20%, and it cuts the risk of suicide right in half. Researchers say caffeine acts as a mild antidepressant by boosting production of the feel-good neurotransmitters serotonin, dopamine, and noradrenaline. A lot of people try to get off coffee. I've seen these people on YouTube. It doesn't ever seem to work because they're just like, I just don't like, I did it for 6 months. I was off coffee, but I wasn't enjoying my life.
So I used to have a lot of coffee. I mean, there have been times, we've talked about this before, where I would have coffee in the morning, followed by several shots of espresso throughout the day. And, it was too much. But now I have 1 or 2 really good cups of coffee in the morning, and I'm good for the day. And honestly, I don't want to give that up. Now, having too much coffee absolutely can increase your blood pressure. There's all kinds of anxiety that can happen with having caffeine at a certain point, caffeine levels that are too high. Plus, we have, in the afternoons, a lot of people will have energy drinks, which are really concentrated caffeine. And a lot of times it's processed caffeine. So all of that starts to add up to an unhealthy lifestyle. And I'm not suggesting that you don't cut back on caffeine, but coffee is one of the few natural sources of antioxidants in the standard American diet. So by all means, like if you cut that out, you're going to be cutting out a huge portion of your antioxidants. I recommend drinking less, enjoying the coffee that you do drink, and then you can switch to tea or whatever throughout the rest of the day.
That's true.
But I highly recommend it. And then also, I will say, like according to this study, I can always tell, like, man, I had a really bad day today, and then I realized, we were traveling or whatever. I didn't have a cup of coffee this morning.
Right. Yeah. Amen to that. And one of the things that I've been doing is sometimes it's 2 cups, sometimes it's 4 cups, but I try and quit at noon.
Yeah.
Because the caffeine does stay in your system for a while.
It does.
Yeah. And then it's going to affect your sleep. This next tip, I tried this. I saw it when you sent this to me. I said, wow, this is really interesting. So I tried it, and it's really great because, we do, 36 hours of terrestrial radio, along with the podcast every week, Gib and I do. And so after a while, you just just the other day, I had brain fog. And so I used this tip and it really worked. So the experts say what you do is you close your eyes. If you find yourself, you can't think quickly or clearly, you just close your eyes for 30 seconds. And the reason this works is that when you take a break from visual distractions, your focus gets sharpened by 25 to 30% because closing your eyes, it activates a brain region called the basal ganglia, which plays a part in learning and cognition and emotion. So by activating it, by just closing your eyes, it helps you think more clearly. Interesting.
I mean, you catch me doing this. So I sing a little bit with you on stage, and I play while I'm singing. And I have to close my eyes in order to be able to focus on both singing and playing at the same time. And we were doing one of the PBS specials, and you kept having to tell me because we were recording it, on video or on film, and you're like, hey, you need to keep your eyes open.
No, you know what? I hope that wasn't me. I think that was Connie, wasn't it?
It might have been. Yeah, somebody came up
because I know how hard it is.
Yeah.
You're playing an instrument, you're trying to stay in tune, and you're listening to the rest of the band. So go ahead, close your eyes.
So I close my eyes for that exact reason. I try to open them, but it helps me. It absolutely helps me focus, and I do it. I've done it naturally. Now we have the science to back it up. But I feel like this is also the same basic, neurological process that makes us turn down the music when we're looking for a parking space or an address. It's just our brain can only handle so much at one time, and cutting out a large amount of stimulation will actually help you focus on the thing that you're actually trying to focus on.
In fact, there's a strong tip from the National Highway Traffic Safety Department. It says that especially if you're getting ready to make a left-hand turn, you need to turn off all sound in the car.
Yeah.
Because it's the most difficult thing that you'll do.
Yeah.
And especially if you're listening to the news or something like that, or if you're listening to sports.
I listen to baseball. I listen to baseball when I'm driving all the time.
Okay, so one more thing we want to share with you before we say goodbye. And thank you guys for staying with us on the podcast. That sleep podcast which is the one prior to this one, I believe, is one of our most popular because there's some great tips in there about how to sleep better. And of course, you can always become a part of our weekly coaching program. It's called All Access Coaching. You can find it at tesh.com. Gib and I host it every week. And for an hour, you get a chance to ask any questions you want. And then using the experience that we have, we can take you through processes to help you.
We've been doing versions of this show for 20 years, meaning we're reading all of the latest data on sleep, weight loss, relationship intelligence, all the stuff that people have been asking questions about for years. We've been reading the stuff and talking about it on the radio, and we have that whole library. So we can find the stuff that fits your life, the research that fits whatever problem you might have.
So check it out. It's at tesh.com. I wanted to share this with you because this is really a sign of the time. So, there's a problem now with customer service, right? Because some of it is staffed by people from, all over the world. Maybe you can't understand them if if you only speak English, or if you're having a problem. A lot of times you're on hold forever and you listen to that music, and it just makes us angrier and angrier. And so if you've ever called a customer service line and you just couldn't help but raise your voice, there is at the customer service agent, there's a new AI-powered tool that was developed in Japan, like everything else, that makes it so customer service workers, they don't have to hear a Karen screaming at them. So the tool, I know you haven't seen this, the tool is called Soft Voice. It changes voices to make them sound less angry or upset. The company that created it hired actors to train soft voice by screaming at it, and the AI was fed over 10,000 pieces of voice data. So it's supposed to be able to detect angry voice tones and yelling, and it makes them sound calmer. It lightens, quote, the psychological load. Can you imagine?
Oh my gosh, first of all, that's genius, and I'm sure that every customer service operator in the country appreciates this. All I'm thinking about is that there are some marriages that might be saved.
If you're wearing like a headset?
You wear like a headset and you have the conversation with your spouse while you're driving home, and it just takes that edge out of the voice.
Yeah.
And so that you're both able to have the conversation cleanly and or calmly and without that little extra bit of emotion. Think about what would happen to the divorce rate if we all started using this.
Yeah, I love it. Or maybe you, who has 3 very different kids, 12 and a half, 10 and a half, and almost 8, and you have to talk to all 3 of them differently. You could just have different settings on your app.
I mean, look, I would love for AI to help me be a better parent, but there's a movie right now. It's like a horror movie, thriller, about the AI assistant in the the that starts to want to be the parent and starts to kill the mom and so he can take care of the kids. That's
clearly what we're afraid of.
I mean, and I feel like that's where it would go. I could use it, but eventually it would replace it.
Oh my gosh. That's it. This has been fun, Gib. Thank you. That's it for the podcast today. Make sure you like and subscribe and tell your friends about it, because we'd love to keep doing it. And we are our pledge to you is we'll continue finding all this great information, and we'd love to meet with you every week on our coaching program. Again, it's at tesh.com. We'll see you next time.